Hello there. What is going on, everyone? Today, we're going to be talking about a lot more Legion news because there were two things that were important that were announced today. We had a Phase 2 Clone Trooper article that was revealed, as well as our tank live stream. So I know it's been a lot of Legion news lately. So in this video, I'm actually going to talk about two separate things, combine them into one video, trying to just kind of maximize the information in case you didn't catch the live stream or in case you didn't see the article. I'm going to talk about both of them in this video. Do want to also remind you guys about the $25 Amazon gift card giveaway. If you would like to enter to win that, you just have to be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my other videos. For now, just I would love to hear what your favorite thing that was talked about today was. So we're going to start off talking about the Phase 2 Clone Troopers. And for the record, if you guys are paying attention to all the most recent stuff that has come out, I have unboxings for all of that stuff. I've published a bunch already. There's more that still have to be recorded, uploaded, and done. When you get 8 expansions all in one day, it's a lot to do. So it's coming. If it's something you wanted to see, it's not up yet, it's coming. Or check, maybe I've already uploaded it. All right. So Phase 2 Clone Troopers, we had an article today. A lot of this had already been spoiled. But, you know, I just want to talk about the basic unit first. 60 points. You're getting heavy weapons personnel like a normal core. You do get training. So training is basically one... The Phase 2 Clone Troopers have a couple of things over regular Clone Troopers. They still have no surge. Well, you know, not natively. But basically, they're going to have one more courage. They're going to cost more. And they're going to have the ability to take training, which is new. And they still have fire support, but they're also going to gain reliable 1. So that's kind of what you're paying for. You're paying for a courage, reliable 1, and a training slot. So if you're not going to use the training slot, it's almost better to just run Phase 1 clones. Almost. Maybe not always, because the courage is important. The courage is absolutely important. To have at least one unit of Phase 2 Clone Troopers on your list might be very important, you know, in case you do just lose that commander. Now all of a sudden you guys aren't panicking. I have a feeling going forward, not all clone lists are going to take Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think we're going to see a lot more clone lists with Rex, and not both Rex and Obi-Wan. So you're probably not always going to run double commander. So having at least one Phase 2 Clone Trooper unit on your list is going to be important. So that's one thing that's good about it. Of course, this may change once we get Special Forces, but we'll have to see. So they still have fire support, which is great, but they have reliable. So at the start of activation, you're going to gain a surge token. So if you were, in theory, to run all clones, all Phase 2 clones, everybody would have surge, so you'd have a lot of built-in surge. It might kind of work out to you having, you know, surge to hit and surge to crit, because you can borrow from other troopers. Not everybody's going to shoot every turn. Not everybody's going to get shot every turn. So there may be plenty of surge for you to borrow. It'd be really interesting to kind of play test a unit of 6 Phase 2 Clone Troopers and see how much better they perform over Phase 1s with that reliable 1 ability. And since reliable 1 is a numerical value, that means at a certain point you might see units with more than 1 reliable. Like Phase 2 Clone Troopers might at some point gain an additional reliable 1, which would give them reliable 2, and then they'd have 2 surge tokens, and that might be insane. But you can kind of already get them 2 if you run aggressive tactics with your commander. That's one of the reasons why reliable 1 isn't that impressive to me, because we've already got aggressive tactics and force guidance, so you can already, you know, like if Obi-Wan's your commander, you can already give some clone units, some Phase 1 clone units, 2 kind of at the start of the round. So, well, depending on when you activate Obi-Wan. But training is going to be really nice, and it's going to give you a lot of options on maybe trying to get some free aim tokens out of that, or duck and cover, which actually might work fairly well with these guys. But you know, like I feel like getting free aims is going to be important with these guys. So our Phase 2 Clone Trooper personnel upgrade, just for the extra mini, is going to cost you 15 points to add +1 miniature. It's going to be 15. So you know, if they do end up coming out with like medics or leaders that are, you know, more appropriately priced for Phase 1 clones, you know, it might be worth, you know, looking at maybe not using this one versus using one of those. And again, we get another look at the Z6. We've seen this already. It's nice to have the really high res versions at 27 points for the Phase 2 Z6, which is pretty nice. Or Z6 if you're outside of the United States, which I think everybody else in the world says Z. It's just me and my people that say Z, and I'm okay with that. But the big new reveal from the Phase 2 Clone Troopers was the Phase 2 Mortar Trooper. Now, this one actually kind of seems like it'll be a nice option. I mean, I love Z6s. I absolutely do. And we get them all the time. We get them, with Rebels. We get those in the Phase 1 clones already. So it wasn't like, if I'm going to run Z6, maybe I'll just run Phase 1 clones and get a cheaper option. But the Phase 2 Mortar, first off, it's got range 4. So that's good. It's nice to have a built-in range 4. Cool option. Critical 1 also. Good option. Suppressive. Very cool option. Cumbersome. Negative thing. But so many ways around that. Fire support allows you not to have to worry about it. Also standby, since clones can share tokens, standby is going to work really, really well with this because you can, you can fire it multiple times potentially. You can potentially put out a lot of suppression with a weapon like this. This one, normally with only 2 black dice, might not be something that I'm that crazy about. But because you can be triggering standby, taking multiple shots with this guy, multiple turns, and you can split fire on a standby, this seems really, really like a creative thinker's dream type of unit. I think this could be really, really fun. Might take a certain degree of setup to work, because usually when you run clones and then you have them all huddled up and people are all running standbys, people don't go near you. People kind of keep their distance. So you may not actually be able to trigger, but like it increases the threat of the clone standby bomb pretty significantly. So that's pretty cool. I like the diversity between, the Z6 and the Phase 2. And I think that's really all we've got right now. We still don't have an exact ETA on when the Phase 2 clones and when the B2 Super Battle Droids are coming out, or the tanks. But we did get some information about the tanks today in the live stream, because we're going to talk about the unit cards and everything that's here. Now, we didn't get really, really super, super detailed images of this, because, well, FFG's live stream does not have very, very good lighting, and on top of that, they are using sleeves which add glare, and so of course we can see them well enough, but I'm just going to talk about general. Instead of reading exact text, I'm going to tell you what they do without the exact text. So first off, we did get a release date for these guys, and that is going to be, well, not an exact release date. We have a time frame. It's not going to be in February. That's one thing we definitely know. It's not going to be in February. They had kind of said that they were looking at February, but it's definitely not February. So hopefully, FFG says hopefully by the end of March. So still looking at Q1. But the tone of voice it was said with makes me think absolutely no way, no how will this be Q1. This stuff is probably going to be April. That's what my guess is going to be. Granted, it would actually be pretty cool if they had some on sale at Worlds, which is going to be at the end of March. So maybe they're really shooting for an Adepticon release, or maybe an Adepticon pre-release, although they really have been shying away from doing the pre-releases in like the past year. But then again, all the expansions that I got like yesterday were supposed to have, be coming out at the end of this month. So I guess it was a pre-release for pre-orders. I don't know. All I know is that the supply chain is kind of all over the place right now. And hey, it's a first world problem. I'm happy to even have the product because Legion's a fantastic game. But it's a little confusing to try and track it all, especially when things are constantly changing. So let's talk about these tanks. So we've got this TX, the TX 130, the Saber tank, basically. It's got a 9 hull. It's got 6 resilience. Now, 9 hull's pretty good. It's going to be hard to bring this thing down, right? You can take a pilot. You've got the hard point. You've got the new beam cannon type upgrade. I don't even remember what that one's called. And then, of course, you've got a comm. Its main weapon is up to range 4. It has critical 1, impact 2, and fixed front. It looks like 2 of each color, so pretty standard, kind of like an ATST gun, but critical 1, impact 2. It's got arsenal 2, which is pretty standard for a 170-point unit. It's got hover ground. Now, hover ground means it is a repulsor vehicle technically, but it's going to move and it's going to basically it's going to be treated by everything else on the board as if it were a ground vehicle. So you will actually be able to move and suppress people. I have a feeling there's going to be some interesting rules interactions. Wait. I don't treat myself as a ground vehicle, but everybody else treats me as a ground vehicle. And so there were questions in the chat during the live stream because it was going to move through. It will displace. But somebody was like, but the rules say If I'm a repulsor vehicle, I don't displace, and I think basically you have to lean on the fact that other people, so maybe you're not doing the displacing, but other people are getting displaced. So it's basically the way you have to kind of look at it from the rules. You've got this really cool ability called Outmaneuver, and that one lets them be able to spend a dodge token to cancel critical results. Dodge, if a unit has Outmaneuver now, it means dodge can cancel critical results, which is really nice for a number of reasons. I would hope, as soon as I see Outmaneuver, it makes me think I want a Jedi power that gives them Outmaneuver. That's exactly, I absolutely want that. I absolutely want with all the critical X keywords we have right now. Outmaneuver is really cool, and of course there's weak point 1, rear and sides. But yeah, so overall, the point cost for it isn't too high, but you're gonna want to put stuff on here, right? They gave it linked targeting array. They gave it the beam cannon turret, this TX-130 beam cannon turret, and then the veteran clone pilot. So I want to talk about the clone pilot first because there's a lot of text there. In short, it just allows the vehicle to do token sharing, just in much the same way that clones do. However, it was pointed out that by Luke Eddy during the stream that it's worded in a way that it works while you are attacking or while you are defending. You can use the clone share ability, and there's an important distinction here. And the reason that that's important is the normal clone trooper ability is like, hey, you can spend other tokens as if they were your own. You can spend them on other people, right? You can spend somebody else's tokens. But if you want to trigger a standby, that's not going to be while you are attacking or while you are defending. And that is an important distinction to make because standby happens after somebody else completes an action or a move or a shoot or something like that. So that's I think that's pretty important to point out. So you're not going to have your super awesome tank just be able to shoot over and 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 over again. And that's important because when we look at the beam weapon, you would have some not an infinite loop, but something kind of close to it. So the beam keyword is what's on this beam cannon turret. It's a range 1 to 4, only 2 red dice, which sounds like, well, that's not that much. I'm like, sure, I understand it's not that much, but beam X is basically the keyword. And what that means is it allows you to make X additional attacks. So with beam 2, after you attack with this, you're going to be able to make 2 additional attacks. But they have to be against different targets, and they have to be range 1 from the previous target, which basically think of it as chain lightning. I hit this guy, boom, and then beam, okay, and then the beam can go boom and boom and boom and can kind of chain. Now it's only going to be with that beam weapon that you're not going to be able to, if you do Arsenal 2 or something like that, you're not going to be able to also fire your main gun on all those additional targets. But from the sounds of it, it does sound like it's a full-blown attack, but using only that weapon, which means, since it's a separate attack, it will trigger other things that can trigger after an attack. For example, fire support. In theory, if you had enough clones, if you had clones with face-up order tokens all along the way, right, you're going to get 2 extra attacks after your main attack. If you played your 3-pip, and given 3 clones face-up order token, they had Z6s and let's say, and surge tokens, or, well, maybe the surge wouldn't matter because you'd be attacking. But if I'm attacking you, poof, this first clone, fire supports, boom, second, chains to this guy. That clone, boom, fire support. Next guy, boom, fire support. Freaking ridiculous. Granted, you'd be spending 4 activations and, 4 tokens in 1 activation. But, think of the amount of damage you could put out in a single activation with something like that. It's granted, what I just described is kind of like the perfect storm. You'd have to have people in position and, because you can actually get beyond range 4 that way because the first target is the only one that has to be within your normal range. After that, it just has to be range 1 of the other target. So very, very cool. So I like that. I like the whole beam weapon thing. It's giving you a way to hit more people, also put out more suppression. And I think it's designed to counteract a lot of the droid synergy of having them all in an assembly line where they're all lined up next to each other, next to each other, next to each other. Maybe now you might not want to do that. So that's a cool idea. I like the mechanic. I like what they have going on there. So that was what we got spoiled from the clones. And then we got the AAT Trade Federation Battle Tank. It has AI attack. So hey, imagine that, just like the regular droids do, right? 170 points also, and I'm pretty sure that it's the same in like 9 and 6 for its health. It has 2 weapons though, and with Arsenal too. So you know, as default, you can already take advantage of Arsenal. So like just face value, it seems like it's the better one to take with if you're not putting any upgrades on it. I kind of like that one. You've got you know, a close range, only 3 black, and then you've got the 2 to 4, where it's 4 red. So if you happen to be at range 2 and have no upgrades equipped, this is the better option, in my opinion, because you're kind of getting more dice. But also, it has a barrage keyword. This is like if you don't use Arsenal, you can make 2 attacks. So again, that's another thing that's awesome, is because I can be like, oh, 4 red, boom, 4 red again, boom, second attack. 2 completely different attacks, but again, I can't use Arsenal if I'm doing that. They also give this guy the linked targeting array, and they give him these armor-piercing shells, which is like a 2 to 3, and fixed front impact 2. They have cycle, and cycle is a new keyword, and they talked about cycle a little bit. But basically, it's an exhaustible weapon. Cycle is inexhaustible, just like anything that you have to load or whatever, like a bazooka or whatever. But cycle means on the next turn, it'll ready at the end of that round automatically. So basically, as long as you don't fire it every round, it's going to continually reload. So like, you know, every other round, you'll be able to fire it again without having to do a recover action. Now, you can still recover normally, but then it's not going to reload at the end of that next round. So basically, if you don't shoot with it this round, it'll exhaust, which is very cool. So I like that. It's also got hover ground, Arsenal 2, armor. It's got the weak point. So and a 2 weak point 2 for the rear. So if you get behind this one, it's going to be even more deadly. And I think that's about everything. I think that's about everything that we got. They're hoping to have this stuff out by the end of March. I'm not sure it's going to happen. They also didn't know if Kenobi. They didn't Kenobi if all this stuff is going to be releasing at the same time or not, or if they if they'd be spaced apart at all. I do want to talk about one more other thing. Let's go back to the tanks. You know, there's different commanders for these. You know, you've got Ayala Secura and Plo Koon along with that veteran clone pilot, but also they did confirm there would be pilots for the AAT. There was going to be a droid pilot that dealt with suppression. They also said there would be Lock Durd, who was from season 1. It was George Takei's. He was like the heavier set Neomoidian, and so basically he is gonna. They just described his ability that he would be able to give you suppressive on your attacks for the whole activation. So, and the thing with that is if you combine that with barrage, you could then attack, boom, suppressive. Oh, you take 2 suppression, and then attack the same target again, boom. So you can layer 4 suppression on somebody, which is kind of cool. Or if you split fire, you can do something like that. So I don't. It's unclear if he's giving it to a specific gun or if he's giving the whole unit suppressive. But either way, like it's kind of cool how that will work here, and the fact that it's for the entire activation is also kind of cool. And if there ever comes out with anything that lets you do an additional attack, then that would be kind of cool as well. But yeah, the other thing about these 2 vehicles is that they have notches in the side. The bases are 150 millimeters, which is just enough to fit inside range 1. I don't know if we have a specific name of what we're calling as a basketball size base, but yeah, they're 150 millimeters. And they do have notches on the sides, and that's going to allow them to do the strafe move, which is not a standard move, but it's going to basically allow them to use a 1 speed on the side and then, move left or right. In much the same way that you would do a reverse maneuver. It's just going to go from side to side as opposed to, backing up. So that's basically, I think, everything that we learned today about the tanks. But yeah, they're pretty fun. They're going to be tough to position and maneuver, and I think it's going to lead to some people setting up their battlefields a little bit differently. So yeah, that's all we got today. I tried to combine it all into one video. I hope to hear from you guys soon. Look for more unboxings for Legion. I got some Armada stuff planned and some more X-Wing stuff planned in the not too distant future, as well as some more board game things and Kickstarter things and all of that stuff. So a lot more stuff coming. Stay tuned for that. I will talk to you guys later. I want to thank you all so much for watching. I also want to thank the patrons. You guys are amazing. Thank you for your continued support. Looking to do some new Patreon stuff later this year, so stay tuned for that. Fans of the RPG, be on notice. I will talk to you guys later. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.